Good morning. I was getting ready to record this morning and wondering, well, what would I like to talk about? What is it that's really matters to me right now in my life? It's one of my favorite questions. What really matters to me in my life? And I like to ask people, what really matters to you in your life right now? Every time I ask it, people go, "Oh," and it takes them to a place inside of them that is very rich to visit. So what matters most to me is about 4 or 5 months ago, Joy and we teach about evolutionary relationships, intimate relationships, how to have them, loving, mature, compatible, sustaining, empowering relationships. Like how do we do that? I'm fascinated by the art and science of the arena of intimate relationships because we grew up and there was just no training about that at all. I mean, I stumbled in this direction just by accident. So now that Joy and I are not only teaching about these things, we're regularly receiving new inspiration about what that process entails for us when we work with our clients. And so I wanted to talk about one of them that's just so compelling to me, and maybe it will be for you as well. So it's about a concept and the experience of a relational field. So if there's Joy is here and she's facing Gavin's over here facing Joy, our intimate encounter experientially takes place in this overlap of our energy fields where there's this relational field. And ever since we've been together for 3 years, we've had this thing where we both take care of the space between us that's shared. It's a relational field and we tend to it like a garden. So we're watching. So if one of us gets irritated at the other person, we know that that's ours and that's something we need to be aware of. We're thankful for the awareness. We're learning something. And then we say, gosh, I see that I kind of barked at you there. I'm sorry. So it's like there was a bit of an injury or a contraction. And then all of a sudden, tending to it, it's almost like an apology or it softens the injury. And then we go on. And we do that really well so that there aren't any accruals. There's no remnants of prior experiences we've had in the whole 3 years that it hasn't been tended to. I'm not aware of anything that I have with Joy that I haven't addressed or that's gone down that feels unsettled. So I'm consistently tending to our relational field. So and we invite couples to learn how to do that. And so part of what is involved in a relational field, I'm realized this morning, I'm having a lot of revelation, is it's a consciousness. The consciousness that's shared between me and Joy actually has an intelligence. It has a guidance system. It provides revelation when I tune into it. But let me bring it a little further out. A relational field exists in all of life because all of life is made up of relationships. So I have a relationship with this home that I'm sitting in. I have a relationship with nature. I have a relationship with my love affair with Abraham Lincoln. I have a relationship with everything. I could sit here and just for hundreds and hundreds of moments, I have all of these relationships. And so I have a relationship with beauty and the quality of beauty in my life. And so I'm always looking at how can I optimize the quality of my experience of my relationship with everything. So this morning, I'm realizing that maybe some of the things that are being given to me right now can help people start to also tend to their relationships, the important things that are in their lives. It could be a relationship with their child, could be a relationship with their body and their well-being, or a relationship with where they want to live. It could even be a relationship with their childhood. You get my sense. It's like life is really comprised of relationships everywhere we turn, moment to moment. And just stopping on one of them and tending to it, I'm experiencing there's an intelligence there. It informs my action. It makes me aware. So if I happen to bark roughly or irritated with joy, and I pay attention to our relational field, it lets me know that I'm responsible for what just happened, and it guides me back into balance. It's amazing. And if I start doubling down and getting more irritated, it says things like, do you really want to go there? Is that the experience you want to have? Um, and I'm fascinated by how, see, I grew up when I was a young child. I was always fascinated when my parents would have a party, all the adults would be there, and I would wander around when I was like 7 or 8 years old, and I would look in adults' eyes. I was fascinated because what I noticed is about 5% of adults had life in their eyes. There was a radiance that was coming out. I could feel it. I could, it was nourishing. And I was fascinated and curious. And then as I got older, I wonder, it's like, why do some adults, they just dull and it's like there's no relational field that's being made available when I get close with them. They don't see me. They don't make any surface area from inside of them available to my surface area, but some did. So then I started asking the adults that had a light shining. It's like, are you aware that there's a light shining out of your eyes? And do you know what that is? And do you know how you keep it that way? Because most adults don't have that. And they would know exactly what I was talking about. They would tell me things like, well, I know a little bit that I've learned in my life about love. And I've learned about being a student of life and being curious. And I've learned about forgiveness and how much family means. So they're describing all these things that are meaningful inside that they have cultivated a relationship with. So they're cultivating the aliveness inside of them. So that's been my goal my entire life. So this tending to this relational field, somehow I like the term because it's an energetic term. It's an experiential term. Like right now, those of you who are listening, I have a relationship with you. Um, and you can tend to that relationship, and so can I from inside yourself. And there may be things that I say or how I look or how I sound that please you, nourish you. And there may be things that for whatever reason you go, God, that's not as appealing to me. But if you pay attention to that, I do know that in my private practice, it's been this way for 40 some years. Clients are drawn my way who have a resonance with who I am and what I have to offer. And I have the same to them. It's almost like we're destined to do powerful work together. It's like some part of us just knows there's a match and then there's an exchange. And I've learned that with spiritual mentoring, the nature of true spiritual mentoring is both parties receive. Both parties are nourished by that. The spirit's available to both. There's this medium. That's another term that I like is there's this medium between me and someone else. And that medium is exchanged not just when we're doing a session live, but when I think of them during the week. And I think of my clients often. So I engage in a process of their healing and awakening with whatever they are drawn to come to me to work with. Relationship could be depression, could be a health issue, but it matters to them and they want to tend to it. They want to actually, they're going in a circle and they're not progressing and they want to open it up so that they can actually become more fulfilled in an area of their lives. And often the experience they're tending to that gets their attention is pain. I mean, someone may have cancer and all of a sudden they're dealing with mortality. That gets their attention. And then they're asking themselves often what really matters to them. Because when we're faced with our mortality, that question becomes paramount. I like paying attention to what really matters to us each and every day. That's my definition of wealth. So, what I particularly enjoy is when I'm around people who are open to me tending to the relationship between us. They actually are undefended and we get to share the joy in that. Those are the people who I'm close with, clients, friends. And joy and I have this is a bonanza. So I wrote some notes So to me, the relational field is dynamic. It's flowing. It's filled with revelation. There's guidance there. I can ask questions of it. So if I'm tense in my relationship with someone in our relational field inside of me, I ask, so, what is that? And often the wisdom will reveal itself because that relational field, that medium actually has the answer. It knows. So, um, a lot of the tools we use to help couples communicate, we call it the honorable dialogue. And I think that's the optimal state of a relational field is that it's honorable. Reminds me of some of the Buddhist teachings where one person bows down and says, Namaste, the soul in me sees the soul in you and honors you. That's the natural, whole, holy state of a relational field, but we can tend to it if it happens to get contaminated or there's some, you know, how sometimes you have to talk to somebody that you're upset with so you can work it through. It can release out of the relational field. So that's my realization this morning is I'm just fascinated by relationship intelligence and as an experience in the moment with any number of things that we're in relationship with, because we are all the time. Somehow I don't find relating to this orientation as overwhelming. I find it calming. I find it helpful. And it might even be another way to say love, the love between us that we're tending to. And are we tending to it? I'm often shocked at how people, this is one of my pet peeves, how people in a relationship give themselves permission to be harsh with their partner, almost like that's actually a valid choice. I mean, it is a choice because they can do it, but to give oneself the authority to hurt someone that you care for. That's why whenever I do something that hurts Joy, I want to be paying attention because I do not want to give myself permission and authority to do that. I want to honor her. And if I dishonor, then I know I have to return to honor. And just how do I do that? And usually it's from an apology. An apology to me just says, I'm aware of what just happened. I'm watching. I see what I did. I'd like to take that back. Or can you forgive me? And just soften that blow. And then the energy field clears, the relational field, and then we're present. Usually the person is more than willing to be forgiving. And part of that is the relational field that I actually witness when I do couples counseling. So I've got two partners who have ways of talking to each other. Sometimes they've been married for 20 years. They have particular patterns that are part of their relational field. And often that relational field from both sides is unconscious. They're just doing what they do and what they've always done. I get to be someone who comes in from the outside and I get to share my observations and invite each partner to take a look and consider a perspective or something that I'm seeing or a new opportunity. It's a, it's really, it feels like I'm an artist and the consciousness of the people involved is the medium. And I have an intuition and I have experience and I often see things and they're shown to me in the relational field. And the other thing that helps me when I share truthfully to couples is you'd think most people would be defended. They'd be defensive and they'd take it personally if you share something about how they might be contributing to the challenge with their relationship. But I'm finding most if I communicate it with humility and I say this may or may not be accurate, I don't know, but you might consider this. And I do have clients who come my way who are sincere in wanting to grow. But still, we're talking about very tender areas and sometimes lifelong patterns. And sometimes these patterns are seated in trauma from long ago that are brought into the current relationship. But because I create a safe space and I offer it for their consideration, I don't have a presumption that I'm accurate or that it's true. I'm just inviting them to be a student and explore it. And it's amazing how people, it's almost as if they are saying to me in their response, Thank you. I've been crippled in this way for as long as I can remember. And what you're now telling me helps me see how I can actually let that go. And you're inviting me to another way to play that actually feels more like me. Wow. And that's what's it's totally cool during doing, couples work. Because again, some of these patterns are so painful and they've gone on so long, and their intention isn't to hurt each other, but it's almost as they can't help it because it's unconscious and it was learned from long ago. So that's one. The other thought I had was I want to talk about relational field relative to a relationship with my son. He's now 29 years old. His name is Christian, and he's a he's a water baby. He's Pisces. I'm a water baby. I'm Scorpio. We get along so well from the time he came out of his mother's womb. We always just had an affinity for each other, and we both knew it. He was very childlike. He's very open in his consciousness, and we would travel together. We'd go in nature together, and he was just an extraordinary young man. He started doing Shakespearean actor when he was 13, 14. He would be in adult Shakespearean plays playing a young boy. I mean, way beyond his years. So the experience that I would describe is I had a soul relationship with him. I always have. And when he was 14, he really started to have symptoms of a very serious mental illness, bipolar disorder, one of the most serious kinds. Very unstabilizing, very traumatic for him. Just came out of nowhere. And along with that, which is common, he started using drugs to try to access himself through all the chaos that he was walking through. So his path of using drugs and reckoning with mental instability lasted 16 years. And this included being homeless. This included being a major drug addict. I mean, we sent him to different rehab centers. He attempted his take his life 5, 6, 7 times. I'd lost count. And I'm over here because I love him so much, all those years trying to rescue him. Because I had learned when I was younger in my earlier original family, my pattern was to be a hero. It's like, well, I'll save you. But I've since realized I can't save anybody. So I finally had to just let him move on his life by himself and back away and give him space. In fact, I had an inner experience once. Now, mind you, think about the relational field between me and my son. Started off with such purity, such joy, such innocence, connection, way deeper than just father son. And then to have all of this turmoil and drug use. And I then became the enemy. He was at war with me because I was between him and the drugs. And there would be physical, he'd try to hit me. He would destroy things in the house, steal things. It was like, who is this young man? Because it's a very different part of him, not his authentic self. This other, it's like, just survival oriented, troubled, desperate, lonely, lost, couldn't find his way. It didn't have meaning. So and I've got heartache, but I can't solve it. So what's really cool from a relational field standpoint is about 3 or 4 years ago, he met a girlfriend who he loves very much. And his life started to stabilize, which is rare for someone faced what he's faced with. Usually they don't live. But he stabilized his life. He got a job as a mechanic. They got housing up in Seattle, and they're living a rich life. And he has gotten his connection with his own spirit, his own authentic self back. I didn't know if he could. He didn't know if he could. And now we're reconnecting in our relationship. He was just here along with his older brother, I've got a very rich relationship with too. And we had the richest time. It's like we're reconnecting like an old love, resurrecting what we had and going from here. And I can't tell you how much that means. I've always been available to him to be, in other words, I've never held it against him, all the things that he has done through all those turbulent years. I knew he was doing the best he could. It wasn't personal to me. It impacted me. It's extraordinarily painful, but I know who he is underneath all that. And now he's coming out from that and he's curious and he's excited and he's saving money for the future. He's an extraordinary young man and we're talking often. And that relationship and its resurrection in the last 6 months just thrills me. He got home from our trip and he wrote me a personalized letter. And we're also able to talk about those times that were difficult, talk about the hurt feelings we had, talk about the challenges we had, so we can clear the relational field of all the debris that got thrown in there, that was in there. To have that kind of relationship with my son means everything. And I'm just eminently curious about our relational field and cultivating new levels of closeness, understanding what makes him tick, the things that turn him on, the challenges he has. How can I support him and him me? Wow, am I a fortunate dad? I was called to share with you about that example, really both examples. Me as a licensed therapist doing deeply therapeutic work of a healing and awakening nature, and also my relationship historically with my son to just elucidate the whole orientation towards relational field and how it's unique. Like what I have with my son is totally, totally unique. I don't have with anybody else. And what I have with each client that I work with, totally unique, often even unique from session to session, even within a session. Um, but it's the tending to that medium of care and of awakeness and aliveness and learning that's between me and someone else. Um, that that's what my life is about. That's what I'm doing. If you ask me what I'm doing every day, it's I'm tending to the relational field of everything I'm in relationship with. I actually would be very curious how all of what I'm sharing with you lands. If you were open to sharing in the notes section, the comments, about experiences you've had that fit with or relate to what I'm speaking about, or you have questions that you have, I would love to receive them so we can open up a dialogue about this. It's almost like a hologram of intelligence and energetic um, mm, presence that we can learn to tend to and do that very well. I welcome your participation. There you go.